For decades, Norton has been one of the most recognizable names in computer security, but it's also one of the most hated. Millions of people never chose to install Norton. It came pre-installed on their brand new PC, popped up while they were working, and warned them that their protection was about to expire. Removing it was so difficult that the company eventually had to publish a separate tool just to delete its own software. Over time, Norton became less associated with safety and more associated with bloatware, pop-ups, and subscriptions nobody remembered signing up for. Now, after a crypto miner scandal, a record regulatory fine, and years of price hikes on customers who forgot to cancel, the antivirus that Norton built its name on has quietly become worthless. But how did Norton go from the most trusted name in software to a brand people warn each other about? And why is the company making more money than ever? Let's get right into it. Norton didn't start as a corporation. It started with one programmer who was very good at fixing other people's mistakes. In 1982, Peter Norton wrote a program called Unerase. At the time, deleting a file on a PC felt permanent. Norton understood that DOS didn't actually wipe the data, it only removed the pointer to it. Unerase could bring the file back. That was a genuinely useful product, and it turned into Norton Utilities, one of the best-selling pieces of software of the decade. Peter Norton computing grew fast. The packaging is the part that matters here. Peter Norton put himself on the box, a photograph of the man, arms crossed, sleeves rolled up, staring straight at the buyer. It was an unusual decision for software, and it worked. The customer wasn't buying a product from a faceless company. They were buying it from a person who was putting his name and his face on the result. Norton was selling trust. That was the entire brand. In 1990, Symantec bought Peter Norton Computing for around $70 million in stock. Peter Norton himself left the software business within a few years and moved into art collecting and philanthropy. He hasn't been involved in the products carrying his name for over 3 decades. Symantec kept the name. They also kept the photograph and used the crossed arms image on packaging long after the man in it had walked away. They understood what they had bought. It wasn't code, it was a face people believed. But Symantec was about to find a way to make money that had nothing to do with earning that belief. In the late 90s and early 2000s, the PC market exploded, and the internet arrived in ordinary homes at the same time. Viruses went from a rare annoyance to a genuine fear, and Symantec had the most trusted name in the category. Instead of selling that name in stores, Symantec sold it to PC manufacturers. Norton started shipping pre-installed on new computers from Dell, HP, Acer, Sony, and others. Buyers got a free trial, usually somewhere between 30 and 90 days. Symantec paid the manufacturer for that placement, and in return got a customer who had already installed the software before they ever compared it to anything else. This accomplished several things at once. First, Norton skipped retail entirely and reached buyers at the exact moment they were most nervous about their expensive new machine. Second, it removed the competition, because the average buyer was never going to research antivirus software when a solution was already running on their desktop. And third, it created an expiration date, which is a deadline the customer didn't set and didn't want. When that trial ran out, Norton didn't quietly switch off, it escalated. Users described red banners, full-screen warnings, and repeated notifications telling them their computer was unprotected. The message was consistent: pay now or accept the risk. That was exactly the plan. Norton wasn't competing on being the best antivirus anymore. It was competing on being the one already installed. And the software itself was becoming the problem. By the mid-2000s, Norton had a reputation that had nothing to do with viruses. It was slow. Users complained that Norton added long delays to boot times, sat in memory-consuming resources, and made older machines noticeably worse to use. Tech forums filled with the same complaint repeated thousands of times, that the antivirus was doing more damage to the computer's performance than the threats it was scanning for. Then there was the uninstall problem. Norton installed deep into the operating system, which a security product arguably needs to do. But removing it through the normal Windows uninstaller often left components behind. Services kept running, registry entries stayed. Users reported that the software they had deliberately deleted was still nagging them for money weeks later. Symantec's response tells the whole story. The company published the Norton removal tool, a separate download whose only job was to fully delete Norton from a machine after the standard uninstaller had failed. Think about what that means as a business decision. Symantec shipped an official product for erasing its own product, because getting rid of Norton had become a recognized technical problem that the company could no longer pretend wasn't happening. That is the moment the brand flipped. Peter Norton's face had been on the box because customers trusted him to fix their computer. 2 decades later, the company carrying his name was distributing a utility to fix the damage caused by installing it. Meanwhile, the business model was changing underneath all of this. Norton moved away from a product you bought once and toward an annual subscription that renewed automatically. The software no longer had to be good, it only had to still be installed on the day the card was charged. And the company was about to buy a business built entirely on that idea. In 2016, Symantec bought LifeLock for $2.3 billion. LifeLock sold identity theft protection, and it had become famous through one marketing stunt. Chief Executive Todd Davis printed his real Social Security number on billboards, on the side of a truck, and in television commercials, daring criminals to try to steal his identity. They did. Davis's identity was reportedly stolen at least 13 times. Regulators were already involved. In 2010, the FTC fined LifeLock $12 million over claims that its advertising was deceptive and that its own data security was inadequate. In 2015, the FTC came back and said LifeLock had violated that order, and the company agreed to pay $100 million, the largest penalty the agency had ever obtained for violating one of its own orders. Symantec bought it the following year anyway. Because the appeal was never the product, it was the subscriber list and the renewal rate. 3 years later, Symantec made the decision that defines everything after it. In 2019, the company sold its enterprise security business to Broadcom for $10.7 billion and renamed what was left Norton LifeLock. The serious half of the company was gone. Corporate contracts, enterprise threat intelligence, the work that actually competed on technical quality, all sold. What remained was consumer subscriptions. Then in 2021, Norton 360 shipped a cryptocurrency miner. The feature was called Norton Crypto. It let the antivirus use the customer's graphics card to mine Ethereum. Norton kept 15% of whatever the machine earned, and payouts moved through a Norton wallet with fees attached. Users reported that the miner arrived with the antivirus update, and that removing it was harder than it should have been. Security researchers pointed out the obvious problem, which is that Norton had spent 30 years telling customers that software secretly using their computer's resources was called malware. The feature was shut down in 2023. Then, in January 2023, the company disclosed something worse. Attackers had run a credential stuffing attack against Norton accounts, using usernames and passwords stolen from unrelated breaches elsewhere. Norton said around 925,000 accounts were targeted. Roughly 6,450 were compromised. The accounts included Norton Password Manager. Customers who had paid a security company to hold every password they owned were told to assume those passwords had been seen. Norton's own systems weren't breached, and the company was clear about that. The attack worked because people reuse passwords, which is precisely the behavior a password manager exists to prevent. But the detail that stuck with customers was simpler. The vault they were told to trust was the thing that got opened. And even that wasn't the strangest thing the company did. In 2022, Norton LifeLock completed a merger with Avast worth roughly $8 billion. Look at what that purchase actually assembled. The combined company now owned Norton, Avast, AVG, Avira, CCleaner, and LifeLock. Almost every consumer antivirus brand that people complain about gathered under a single owner. The company renamed itself Gen Digital. The reason the Avast deal matters goes beyond the size of it. In February 2024, the FTC fined Avast $16.5 million and banned it from selling browsing data for advertising. Avast had sold its product on the promise that it would block online tracking. Through a subsidiary called JumpShot, it collected users' web browsing information and sold it to more than 100 third parties. The FTC said this ran from 2014 to 2020. So the privacy company was selling the privacy. Meanwhile, the renewal machine kept running. Norton's pricing follows a familiar shape: a low introductory year, then a renewal at a much higher price, charged automatically before the current term ends. Gen Digital also settled a class action for $9.95 million over pre-recorded marketing calls made to LifeLock and Norton customers, with eligible claimants receiving between $200 and $625. That renewal system produced a side effect the company never intended. Fake Norton invoices became one of the most widely reported email scams in the world. The format is always similar. An email arrives saying a Norton subscription has renewed for a few $100s and gives a phone number to call if the charge is wrong. There is no subscription. The number connects to a criminal who talks the victim into installing remote access software or handing over bank details. The scam works because of how Norton sells. Enough people genuinely do have a Norton subscription they never consciously chose, renewing at a price they never agreed to in advance, that an unexpected Norton charge is completely believable. Criminals didn't have to invent a scenario, they copied the real one. And under all of it sits a problem the company cannot fix with marketing. Symantec admitted to it publicly more than a decade ago. In 2014, Brian Dye, Symantec's own Senior Vice President for Information Security, told the Wall Street Journal that antivirus was dead. His argument was that signature-based scanning caught only around 45% of attacks, and that the industry needed to move on. He was running the division that sold it. That statement was made in the year Symantec was still one of the largest security companies on Earth, and it was correct. Attacks had moved to phishing, credential theft, and social engineering, none of which a virus scanner is designed to stop. The company knew the flagship product was finished as a defense, and kept selling annual renewals of it for another decade. Windows 11 ships with Microsoft Defender included at no cost. Mac OS includes XProtect. Independent testing labs have rated Defender at or near the top of the category for years. The paid antivirus product that built Norton's entire brand is now a free feature of the operating system it runs on. Gen Digital's answer was to stop being an antivirus company. In 2025, it completed the acquisition of MoneyLion, a consumer finance app, for around $1 billion. A business that started with a program to recover deleted files now sells cash advances and credit monitoring. And the strangest part is that financially, it's working. Gen Digital crossed $5 billion in annual revenue in its 2026 financial year, with growth accelerating into double digits. Norton isn't dead yet, but the antivirus that made it famous is finished. It's been replaced by software that comes free with a computer, and it's been beaten by a version of itself that most customers no longer need. What remains is a subscription business that owns most of its former competitors, carries the debt from buying them, and earns its money from people who signed up cheaply and never got around to canceling. Peter Norton put his face on the box because he wanted customers to know exactly who was responsible for the software on their machine. The company that bought that face has spent 30 years proving how much a reputation is worth when nobody is left who has to defend it. Whether Gen Digital keeps growing will depend on whether it can convince people to trust it with their identity and their money, or whether they keep seeing it as the thing they couldn't uninstall. But Norton isn't the only tech brand that turned customer frustration into a business model. HP was once the most trusted name in printing before it started blocking the ink people had already paid for. To see how HP destroyed its own reputation, click the video on screen.